Hey, I'm Nick the Joe.
Hey, I'm Ellis. What's up, guys?
And this is our social studies project,
Gobus War Part.
Civil War
On the guns.
guns. As we said earlier,
We're doing this presentation on guns
that were popular during the Civil War,
and that were important during that time.
such as the pistols they used,
The muskets
the rifles.
and the machine guns.
Said earlier, one portion of this presentation about guns during the Civil War was the pistols, and the pistols were really important during that time because it allowed them to have faster shots. So if they were ever in trouble, they could shoot it off faster instead of having to reload. So pistols were a big invention during that time. An important pistol during this time was, as shown on the screen, the Tranter 44 revolver. The 44 revolver was invented by William Tranter, who was a Birmingham gunmaker who manufactured this gun in 1853. What was important about this gun is that it had a double action mechanism, which was that the weapon was cocked by pulling the lower trigger and fired by pulling the upper. This was deliberate shooting. When fast shooting was demanded, both triggers could be pulled together. Manufactured in quantity from 1856 to 1863. Tranters were important to the USA and used by officers on both sides.
Another important gun was the Colt 1851 Navy revolver. This 36 caliber revolver was Colt's best known product, also called the old model belt pistol. It had an octagonal barrel 7.5 inches long. It fired conical or round bullets weighing 145 grains. In either case, the charge was 17 grains of black powder. To load the gun, the shooter pulled the hammer back to half cock, which allowed the cylinder to rotate freely. Preloaded cartridges could then be inserted, or loose powder, followed by the ball. The loading lever under the barrel was used to seat each bullet firmly against the powder.
Also, another important pistol that was used during the Civil War was Lamat revolver, patented by Colonel Jean-Alexandre Lamat in New Orleans during 1856. This unusual revolver was produced in France after its inventor returned to Paris. Later models were also manufactured in Belgium and Britain after he won a contract to supply them to the Confederacy. Popular with some senior Confederate officers, most Lamats were 42 caliber weapons with 9 cylinders and a 6.5-inch barrel. Under the main barrel was a 20-bore shotgun barrel, so the shooter could let fly with a load of buckshot if all else failed.
The second gun that we will be talking about is the musket.
Some important musket during this time was this one shown, the Springfield Model 1855 percussion rifle musket. From 1857 through 1861, the Harper's Ferry and Springfield Armories manufactured 59,273 of these rifle muskets. The first U.S. military rifle to fire the 58-inch Minet cartridge, they used the Maynard tape primer system. The Model 1855 was one of the standard infantry weapons for the early part of the war. The Maynard tape primer system was invented by Dr. Edward Maynard, who was a dentist in New York and designed firearms and ignition systems also. The second part of this portion is rifles. This important rifle was a Henry 44 rimfire rifle. Some 13,000 of these lever-action rifles were manufactured from 1860 to 1866. They were designed by Tyler Henry. The rifle had a 15-shot tubular magazine under the 24-inch barrel. Most had brass frames, but a few had iron ones. There was no loading gate, unlike later Winchesters, but the Henry was a revolutionary weapon. The metallic cartridge was demonstrably superior to self-contained powder. ball, and primer cartridges used by the earlier volcanic repeaters. The Henry's 44 ball weighed 216 grains and was fired by a 25 grain charge.
Above, we have the Colt Model 1855 revolving rifle. Colt manufactured revolving rifles, carbines, and shotguns. The Model 1855 rifle held 5 rounds in the cylinder and weighed a fraction under 10 pounds. It was also produced in a 6-shoot 44 caliber version. Estimated production figures are just over 9,000 between 1856 and 1864. The Colt had several drawbacks, including the occasional discharge of several cylinders at once, but it was used by Burton's sharpshooters before they obtained the Sharp rifles.
Pretty big rifle. And the last and final portion of our presentation on guns during the Civil War is, of course, the classic machine gun. And the last portion of our project of guns during the Civil War is the classic machine gun. Machine gun during this time was the Gatling 1862 model that had 6 rotating barrels. How it worked is that paper cartridges were slipped into steel cases with a primer in the base. They were supposed to align with the barrel at the moment of firing, but synchronizing this proved difficult. The barrels were revolved by hand crank. A 6-cam operated bolts, locked and then fired, and then dropped back into turn. As the steel cases did not align accurately enough, the barrels were wider at the rear. This led to gas leakage and reduced accuracy, a problem that Gatling overcame by introducing copper rimfire cartridge cases instead. Gatling guns did not enjoy real success until after the war when the U.S. Navy ordered some in 1-inch caliber. Subsequently, the British and Turkish armies bought Gatlings in 45 caliber. The Russians built them under license and eventually developed a model of their own with 10 barrels.
Another important machine gun is the Vandenberg volley gun. While the numbers of barrels ranged from 85 to 451, the system of operation was the same. A screw-type breech held the cartridges and slid into a keyway. Copper sleeves were forced into the counterbore chamber to create a tight gas seal. Groups of barrels could be fired individually or all together. The recoil from a full volley was severe.
On behalf of me and Ellis, I hope you enjoyed our presentation on guns during the time of the Civil War, and hope you liked it.
Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy this one part! Woo! We love this one part! And a presentation! Sorry for talking so much in the back of class, yeah.